I'll pick up on something you mentioned, which is the use and like combining legal formal remedies with campaign style actions. And essentially like fighting in courts and through the formal system, but also outside it. And so I wanted to ask both of you, and maybe we'll start again with you, Saskia, this time. How have you been combining using legal remedies with campaign action? So like how does it work practically? Where have you seen, how have you seen these two quite different strategies coexisting alongside and kind of reinforcing each other also?
I think in kind of individual cases, we use it when we are appealing to the mayor or the head of housing or someone. We are looking at the different points that we can put in that email, right? So obviously legal points are part of that. But more widely, I think the best example we've got of trying to combine these things is the legal challenge that that the campaign has been working on with the Public Interest Law Centre for well over a year, maybe two. I've lost the plot. I can't remember anything, but but that was really important because it was like strategic litigation where we were taking 20 individual households from a temporary accommodation hostel and making it a group legal complaint. So it was bringing individual cases together with the aim of strengthening and presenting a strategic litigation case against the council. And I honestly think that's the best possible use that we can have for the law. And especially because in particular, Public Interest Law Centre were very clear that they thought that the law was literally just like another weapon in the arsenal of campaigners. Literally that. It wasn't the thing at the top. It was something else that we could use to empower people. So yeah, by far, I think that's the best way that we've used the law and that we would seek to use the law.
Yes. Perhaps my answer will be a bit different because the LRU is not much in the business of bringing court cases or anything. Though that's not to say we would never do it, I suppose. But it's not a sort of it's not been much a part of our strategy so far. But I think what we spend a lot of time doing is probably educating landlords about what the law is, because they don't know or don't care to know, and so landlords and letting agents, it has to be said, whose job it should be to know the law. So at an eviction resistance a couple of months back, so our member had been threatened with eviction the next day, and the letting agent was aware that he had been living in that house for a while, but was under the impression that because he had no contract for various reasons, that they could simply turn up the next day and evict him. So part of the strategy was to blockade across the front door and back door with our bodies to make sure that nobody could get in. And then the other part was being on the phone to the letting agent, explaining the Protection from Eviction Act and why it might apply to someone who didn't have a contract, they eventually consulted their own lawyer on that and backed off. So, I mean, that's the most likely way we're to be found using the law alongside our more direct tactics. Yeah.
I just have something to add to that as well.
Yeah, sure.
From Cathy, also from the LRU, is that sometimes we are doing casework and action with members who've actually already had a legal process or consulted a solicitor and it hasn't worked out for them. We had a successful action with a member in getting her deposit back in Hackney, who had been made homeless by a rogue estate agent that took rent up front and a deposit. And then when she moved into the property with her young child, a week in, they found out that she was claiming housing benefit and evicted her and didn't give the rental deposit back. She had actually challenged that in court and won, and was still not getting it back a year later. And that's when we stepped up to start publicly shaming that estate agent. We had a protest outside. We left them lots of bad reviews online, and eventually she did at least get £1,000 of her money back after a lot of pressure, and that campaign's still ongoing.